What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 3 of Links to Labels. I am joined by Colin McCarthy, a golf coach, a content creator,
A lot of stuff.
uh, what would I call it? A TV reality show or game show player, right? I just saw that the other day. But before we get into it, just kind of talk about everything that's on our mind. What I want you to tell people who are listening is, what do people need to know about Colin McCarthy? Who is he? Where are you from? What's your background? All that good stuff.
Um, Golf is my passion, but what's more my passion now is coaching and teaching. Growing up, I was like the babysitter of the neighborhood. So kids would always knock on my door, "Hey, can you come out? Can I come out and play?" All this other stuff. So I got so used to teaching things to people that I can teach anything to anybody because I understand the science of it. I understand anatomy, fascia, I mean, you name it. With all the injuries I've had, it gave me time, gave me more time to be a better coach inadvertently when I was already a good player. But when you get injured, your body's not the same. People are like, "Oh, I'm going to get back." Nah, you might get back. Maybe. It depends on what your injuries are. So it's finding your passion through acceptance. And that's something that I've taken to heart. And I mean, even this year, man, for me, it's going to be patience. Definitely, because my body is going through some stuff right now because I'm getting old. I'm sure you're kind of feeling that too.
Dude,
Every
no.
day.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I played college baseball. I
Mm,
had elbow issues. I pitched in college, probably through like close to 200 innings in college, and in high school, it was even worse. And when I was in high school and college, it was kind of, it was probably what, like 7, 8 years ago now. And
mm,
so much has changed with recovery, training, taking care of your body, pitch counts. I can't even tell you how many times I threw like 120 pitches in high school and then went to play shortstop for the next 3 days. Right. And then you have travel ball. And I had no idea how to take care of my arm. And I
mm.
have recently just got a cortisone shot in my elbow. It's the second time I've also done stem cell. I have like some minor tears right on the tip of my elbow,
Mm.
and
Right or
nothing can
left?
fix it on my right arm.
Okay.
And
So is your bicep head shorter or longer?
then my left, or
So just a simple measurement. So if you were to put your arm up, would you is your hand higher than your shoulder? Yeah, it is. So it's very common amongst Tommy Johns and amongst golfer's elbow and people like that. I mean, why would you name the injury after a sport? It just sounds bad. It's like tennis elbow. It's the same thing. It's that action that people get. Now, the reason why people get that action is because they're trying to do something with a muscle, with their fascia, that their body's not really meant to do until you understand how to move that part of your spine. So people are forcing things to happen with their wrists. That's why you were forcing things to happen with the way you were throwing. And when this bicep head is shorter than this forearm, your throwing mechanism is going to be 3/4 to almost sidearm, just
yeah,
because of the symmetry of how you're throwing. That's where you throw right here. When you throw in this 3/4 area instead of full overhand, you don't get the leverage, so you push that ligament, and when you push, it can tear. So there are
yeah,
little things that they're doing now
yeah.
to
So
help with that.
I know that Tommy John's like on the inside of the elbow, but
Mm.
my pain is literally
Yeah,
like right here when I
yeah,
push that way. Um, and it can get pretty painful. And when I'm golfing all the time, it flares up, it
it
swells.
does.
Um, and really the
It's
doctor was,
this movement.
yeah. And pretty
It's
much the
that
doctor
movement.
was like, we can keep doing cortisone, but that's not the best approach. It will eventually, like, the cartilage will die, and I forget all the stuff he said. Look, I'm no
It'll
doctor,
diminish.
but he's
It'll
like,
diminish.
pretty much, he's like, the solution for you is like we wait for it to tear and then we do surgery, and then hopefully it is
I
better
would
when
just
you
do the
recover.
surgery. I would just do the surgery. You find a really good surgeon, I would just do it.
I
Because
really asked him. I asked him the other day when I was there, because I was going to do a second cortisone, and then I was like, I I'm not set on it. I want to talk about it. Ended up not doing it. And I'm like, can you guys just like force tear it so I can just do surgery? And he's like, no, that's not what we do. But maybe there's another doctor out there. I'm in Chicago, so I went to a pretty good orthopedic surgeon
Ortho,
out
yeah.
here. And so we'll see. I think eventually that's, what's going to happen. It's bearable now. It doesn't, take away from my enjoyment of life or anything. But it bugs me. And
It does cause some anxiety though, and that's something that's not fun. Trust me, I know. I had to make the decision for my shoulder. I've dislocated it 13 times.
oh,
Okay,
wow.
just as someone, just personal experience. That's why one arm, if I don't know if anybody can view this, but the listeners out there, my left arm is considerably shorter than my right arm when I reach
Wow.
out. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
way shorter
That's sort of how
because
my
the
legs are.
labrum. Yep.
Yeah, that's how
So
my
it
legs are, and I had
depends.
SI
Yeah.
problems when I was pitching
Mm-hmm.
because my hips were
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
offline, and
Yep.
I had to
Yep.
do like physical therapy for it. But I think you brought up a good point. Was like I don't think I understood how the body worked when I pitched and when I played, and I didn't know how to recover. I didn't know how to train, and just over time through overuse, that's what happens. Uh,
Yeah,
but
it's
time didn't
okay.
change, and yeah,
Yeah.
I have no regrets. I enjoyed my time playing. But I want to go back to another point you mentioned. Um, of you were the neighborhood babysitter,
Mm.
and over time you just knew how to coach. And like I said, I was an athlete, grew up playing for a ton of different coaches, and what I realized is not some coach might know the game, but they might not be a good coach. Or they might not know how to communicate. Or something we chatted about was they don't know how to coach based on the individual, right? And I think it takes also like a little bit of empathy to understand individualness.
Cookie
And so
cutter, yeah.
what I want to talk about is in the golf coach world, you know, there's some good ones, there's some bad ones, there's some ones that really know the game, don't know how to communicate it. Someone, and some that, maybe never played high level golf, but are really good at coaching because they understand individuality and the swing, the mechanics, the science, the body. So how do you approach your clients and make sure that when you help them, you're helping them based on their individuality and not just a one size fits all approach?
And then I need to know their limitations. The first thing I ask every student is who brought them to the game. I have to know their reason why they play. Whether it's a nostalgic connection, it causes a lot of pressure depending on if it's your grandfather, which is more of a fun way, and the father, which is usually, not all the time, but usually a more pressure way. Because the parents put a little bit more pressure on the kid, raising them, but the grandparents are a little bit more fun. So I'm on the grandparent side where it's a little bit more fun to me. I can have fun with it. I'm not like all serious all the time, especially since I got injured before my career even started. So it's really important that you understand why the person's playing the sport in the first place. What caused them to come to the sport? That's what matters. If they're just in it for to beat their friends. They're competitive. That's great, but they don't have that passionate connection that most people need. Not all, I'll say most people really need to excel in something like basketball or baseball for you. It's like, how did you end up in baseball? What got you into baseball?
Uh, I don't know. I started at a really, really young age, and when I started, I just fell in love. Like
Who brought you? What person? Do you remember?
I would say I grew up playing all sports. So I
Hmm.
didn't just play baseball. You played soccer, played football,
Yeah, yeah, I'll say
baseball.
yeah.
And it wasn't until high school that I picked baseball. My dad wrestled in college. So he
Hmm.
didn't really play baseball growing up. My grandpa didn't play baseball. I didn't have anyone that, played baseball at a high level.
Hmm.
So for me, it was just pure passion and enjoyment of the
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
And that's why
I
I
mean,
kept playing.
yeah, and then there you go. And that can lead to all kinds of other aspects. And you're like, oh, man, it's so cool going back to all the successors, all the people that have been super successful. I mean, Olympic athletes, Tiger, I mean, people like that. You go back into their heritage of what started them in the game, their dad, their grandfather, there's stories behind that create a very powerful, passionate connection that's just like it builds an athlete on top of it. It's really hard to find it too. And then of course being built like Tiger, being built like Nelly Corda, being built like Bubba Watson, and I could go down the list of all the people that are just longer. The way that they're shaped creates a more natural, forgiving golf swing. But that's a different story altogether. But it's for me, it was definitely the coaching that I grabbed onto more. My competitive edge left. I'm not very competitive, still not very competitive. Whenever I play pool, I'm like, I've won so many games of pool that, I mean, it's cool to win, but I'm not like I'm not like obsessed, like passionate. I gotta win this. I gotta win this. It's cool to win and be like, oh, I lost by a ball. Yeah, that was fun. It was a good time. But if it's my students, I'm like, you got this. You can break 80. You can break 75. You can do this. You can break 70.
Well, there's
And
also some purpose there, right? Helping others gives you that sense of purpose and enjoyment, and I think
it really
what
does.
life is all about is doing stuff with purpose. And seems like you're obviously good at golf, but your purpose and enjoyment in golf is more about helping others, which is admirable. And I'm sure that's not how every coach is. But the next thing I want to talk about, um, and long story short, the first time we ever had an interaction, this is funny, was on I don't know, maybe like a Golf Digest post or something like that. I don't know what it was about some sort of golf coaches, and I responded to you or something, and it was sort of a negative thing against golf coaches, and I think it was before I got my golf coach, right? It was I was looking at golf coaches around the area of Chicago. And what I realized is like, man, all these coaches are so expensive. It was like 150 for an hour, and I'm like, man, like I'm going to need 5 to 10 lessons to really understand how the swing works, the mechanics, how my swing works. Because, and I'll go back to what I was saying, but the reason I say that is because, for baseball, with a baseball swing, after a certain amount of time, coaches, I understood what I needed to do. If I popped up, I know that I was dipping my back shoulder. If I'm hitting a ground ball to third, I'm rolling over, rolling my hands, and I understand the adjustments I need to make. When I was playing out on the golf course, I had no clue why I was slicing it, why I was pulling it, why I was topping it. No idea how to chip, how to hold my hands. And I think it was easier for me to just have someone tell me than do all this stuff on my own and try to keep figuring out, because I spent like 2 or 3 months trying to break my baseball swing, and it was just so difficult. Yeah, and I was coming over the top big time.
Yeah.
But back to my point is, I grew up with baseball coaches, and they charge like 60 to 70 to $80 an hour, and I'm like, I'm going to make an investment, even if it's just 3, 5 lessons, $500, let's say 700, 750, whatever it is. Like, I want to make sure I'm getting a quality coach, and they're all priced pretty similar. And I found it difficult you know, to kind of figure out who would be that guy for me. Right. If it's $60 an hour, I can try a couple and I can figure out, it's water under the bridge, but what $150 to a lot of people is a lot of money.
Mm.
So I don't know what we ended up talking about, but that was our first initial interaction. We ended up, talking it out, and it was all good. But how do you, as someone that's looking for a coach, what would be the best way to approach finding one, so that the money you're spending is worthwhile, right? Because you could spend, I've heard stories of people finding coaches and it's like they get ghosted, after the third, or he misses, or like he misses an appointment. And so I found it challenging to find coaches and find a quality one. I ended up finding one through social media, Roddy. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Pretty big on social media too, not where you're at with followers, but I've really enjoyed working with him. Great dude. I would consider him a friend at this point, which I think is an awesome thing to have out of a coach, right? So if I came to you and I asked you, hey Colin, I want to find a coach, how should I approach it? How should I approach finding a coach that is going to be best for me?
So a lot of people do Google reviews. A lot of people do Skillest reviews, and there's a lot of coaches out there that do that kind of thing. I'm not on Google because there's some psychos that I do. I have had some lessons where, just to give you an example, We were 10 minutes in, and now we were just like asking questions. He goes, "Oh, this isn't for me." And I was like, "Okay, that's perfectly fine. You can do your thing. You don't even have to pay me. Don't even give me your money. Go and get you go ahead and finish hitting your balls. You can do your thing." He goes, "Okay, that's fine." Comes back 2 weeks later. I kid you not. 15 minutes in, he goes, "This isn't for me." I was like, "Man, what are you looking for? 'Cause I'm just trying to understand you." And he's like, "Oh, I'm just looking for somebody, looking for connections." I was like, "Man, you're not looking for a coach. You're looking for an agent, man." And his swing, he's like, "I want to get on tour." It's a whole different story, man. There's just there's some individuals out there. That's all I'll say. There's some individuals out there that can give you a bad review for absolutely no reason other than they had a bad day. And that's something that a lot of coaches fear getting on Google, getting on Skillest and some things like that. So you don't see that a lot. You see some, I mean, look at Mike Adams and look at people like that. They're so good at what they do. They're on that list because they work with a lot of good players. They're politically standing. They work at a country club. But for me, I'm basically like a free agent, and I am, working at golf courses. I'm paying rent at driving ranges to coach there. So it's cool. But really, it's reaching out. Reach out to the coach. See if the coach reaches back. See how they respond to you. Okay, that's what matters most. Do a little bit of research, trying to find out what they do. Look at their website. Read the material. Don't just be like, oh, they have a lot of followers. I know when you had mentioned that, it's like followers, right? To me, a lot of followers doesn't matter, right? I mean, again, look at, you could, Butch Hartman, he didn't have a lot of followers. Now he has like 6 grand, right? And people know him as Coop something. I can't remember what it is, but there's some amazing coaches out there, and social media is not really what you should be looking for. Cool factor is not really what you should be looking for. A lot of people look for cool factor too. It's like, oh, as soon as I came out with a DJ video, do you know how many people reached out to me and wanted a lesson from me? I was like, in my head, I'm like, that's cool, but why do you want a lesson from me when I'm just standing next to a player hitting a golf ball? There's no basic, it's the cool factor. So like I said, talk to the coach. See if they communicate. See if they reach out to you. See what they say. See how are you doing? How are they communicating with you? And then how do they start the lesson? Okay, do they just take a video of your swing and go, we need to do this, this, and this? Or do they ask questions? Do they ask what your limitations are? Do they measure you? Do they know any of that? Do they understand that kind of stuff? Can they explain a situation that you're having issues with? Can they explain why it happens? It's a
Yeah.
step
Yeah.
process that most people skip because their
Yeah.
reviews are good or whatever. They
Yeah.
skip it.
So what type of like if 2 or 3 questions that are good questions to ask if you're inquiring about to a coach? What would be
Hmm.
those questions?
Don't ask what your rates are, okay? Because they're. I get so many questions about what your rates, and I was like, man, I would love to have a student that does research because I know they're going to put the effort in. So look up there. Every coach has a link in their bio. It's the people that reach out to me and go, "Hey, what are your rates?" All they care about is the money they're spending, not the value of which they're spending the money on. So look up the coach, and then be like, okay, ask them a couple questions. So like, hey, if you're curious, so this is not in what you're looking up, what are you curious about that coach? Ask them, hey, how long have you been coaching for? You're allowed to ask that. Hey, whatever you're wondering about the coach, hey, what's your coaching style like? It should be on his website. But you see how, like, looking up, it'll give you some ideas of what to ask. Because when you see that information, you're like, oh, I think I know what to ask this guy now. Or what players have you worked with? Tour players. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like, because it's really easy to coach a really good player, but it's really difficult to coach someone that has a lot of limitations, a lot of injuries. So there's a give and take. But if you look at the information that they're giving you already, then you can judge based upon that. Like, hey, what are you curious about? Be curious about what you're getting your value from, not the hourly rate. Because I mean, the hourly rate can go up and up and up. How very good they are. It's like a good lawyer. Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned, the value. What is the value you're getting? I didn't get a coach until I was talking to my buddy Dylan Kelly. Shout out Dylan. He was an old teammate of mine, pretty good golfer. And he was like, think about it. You spend how much on a round of golf and you go out and you shoot over 100 and you're frustrated and you can't figure it out. and you keep doing that 2 or 3 times a week, like imagine like all you're doing is spending 2 weeks of outings on a coach, and you'll
and then
reduce
not,
frustration, you'll
yeah,
figure things out, and you'll have a lot more enjoyment when you go out on the course. And I'll say, now I've had more fun on the course than I did before, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was really simply, golf is fun no matter what, in my opinion, but I was simply like wasting my time out there, spending $20 on range balls, $100 on a round, doing it again 2 days later. And I could have probably, in a month, the month I started, probably could have got lessons and saved myself a
a lot of
substantial amount of
time.
money at the range, and at the range too, because I was like a range rat. I was like, I need to go smack a bunch of balls around. And I'll eventually figure it out. And now I don't, like, now after getting lessons, I don't feel like I have to go do that all the time.
Good.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, that's great. And the cool thing is, man, like what? Okay, so what else do you do besides this? Like, what's your like other jobs that you have?
yeah. So I work full time for General Motors,
Okay.
sales lead
So
for emerging digital products.
you have a salary, right?
Yeah.
Basically. So in that, I won't ask how it is, but in that, your value per hour, okay? When people watch YouTube, they don't quite understand this. Or when people go home and they just watch Netflix, they're wasting their own time instead of valuing that exact hour that they get and investing in it, because investing in your education appreciates, but watching YouTube actually depreciates your time because it's not specific to you. It's not calibrated to your learning experience. It's not reaching out to you. It's the value, and I keep trying to stress this. It might be valuable if there's that little piece within that whole hour, but you're wasting that hour of guessing instead of finding a coach that you've done the research. It's like getting used clubs, right? If you get used clubs, the used clubs could be the perfect club for you and you've spent way less. It's like a used car, same thing. Some people buy a new car. There's so many examples of the same exact situation as this, but it's the value of time. Time is all we need. We're all on borrowed to just borrowed time. That's all we're on. It's just borrowed time. That's it. If we can increase our education and increase our value, we're increasing our time. And that's so cool about that. When you figure out that, like, okay, this coach is going to give me the time. Sometimes I go 10 minutes over because, I mean, I feel bad and he's not getting it. And then finally it clicks and he's like, wow, it's like, dude, you have valuable to me. And that's a good thing that you're like 10 minutes. I don't care if the next person's got away. I'll go 10 minutes the next one. And I'll tell them like, hey, I'm a few minutes late. They don't mind
Yeah, it
because
sounds like it's not just transactional to you, right? Because I'm
no,
sure there are coaches out there. Well, it's like, it's 5. That's your hour. See you next week.
peace.
Yeah, you know, and and
I've had those coaches.
yeah, and I think that's the thing about, like, there's a ton of coaches out there, and this is what I think was our conversation about on that post was like, there's a lot of baseball coaches out there, but not all of them are great.
Yeah,
Um, and the ones that are, they really invest in you. You're
yeah,
investing in them, but they also invest in you. And I think those make some of the best coaches are the people that care about you and your growth, not just the paycheck that, they're getting. And I actually do, on the side, I got on this thing called Coach Up. I do private baseball lessons. I live right across from Whitney Young High School. There's like a real nice complex over here. And I've really enjoyed just like building relationships with these kids. Like I see myself in them, when they're young, this passionate, uh, energetic kid, and I are kids, and I love doing it. I love seeing improvement, hearing like, hey, he won MVP in his fall league after he wanted to quit, or you that to me is that purpose we talked about, and is rewarding more than it is getting paid $80, right? Like money's cool, but when you give your time and you see that improvement and you see that excitement in a kid or a client, like that's what makes it all worth it. Like that's what
it's
makes it
valuable.
worth my time. So
What's your worth? And I ask my students like, what's your time worth? Time and value. And some people just don't understand how valuable they are. They don't. Some people don't understand how smart they actually can be. Some of my students are like, speak English, and I was like, okay, I'll say it differently. And they're like, oh, I get it now. I was like, okay, now do you understand why I said it that way? He goes, I think so. But
Oh,
it's society now, and I don't want to talk about like other things that are happening in golf right now, but just in general, society, people, um, they have so much things done for them now. Technology does a lot for you now, so they don't realize how smart they actually are. And some don't know how to apply themselves because they never really have applied themselves. And that's my job as a coach, is to get somebody to understand the question I'm asking and then answer it. Not just answer me and go, I don't know, because that's still an answer, right?
trying
It's
to get
I
them to
always
think,
ask questions. I'm
right?
trying to get them to think because I know they're smart enough. I tell this to all my students: you are smarter than you think you know, and it's the knowledge that you have. Okay, knowledge is power, right? I get it, knowledge is power, but knowledge can make you also really look stupid, and it can also kill you. All right. So someone tells you something. This is cool to talk about. Someone tells you something. That is knowledge, right? But you don't know what value it holds. Again, value, and how much time it took them to tell you, right? You don't know what the value of that knowledge is. Is it good or is it bad? Is it factual or is it fiction? I mean, do you see my point of now? It's like you could watch YouTube, you could read a book that's published, and anybody can write a book, right? Anybody can do a podcast. Anybody can do anything, right? That's what it is. That's what TikTok is doing. That's what YouTube. That's what all these platforms are doing, and people are overwhelmed like yourself. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to ask.
Yeah, it is
That's why
overwhelming. It is
it's
overwhelming.
overwhelming. It's just it's exploded.
Yeah. And there's two things I want to say. The first is um, you mentioned something of like, hey, do you need me to say something different? There's one thing that I talk about is like in my past, there was a coach who they people teach a certain thing, right? And they might teach the same thing, but there might be a way that someone conveys it that I understand versus someone else. And I always tell these kids, I'm like, if I tell you something and you don't understand it, let me know because I'll try to tell you it differently so you understand. Because, I might say one thing to someone, they get it, it clicks. I might say
Yep.
that same thing to another person, like, I don't understand. And then I like try to do analogies and help them understand. It's like, I need you to get here. So think about you bending over a table, instead of just showing them or whatever. And like, oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that goes back to one
Yep.
of the first things we talked about was the individuality of people, and
Custom.
people think differently. I it happens at work where I'm like, why isn't, I respond to emails quickly, and I need this response. Why can't I get that? Or, and I've had a boss that told me, he's like, Clay, like, not everyone is you. Like, people are different. They might be going through something. They might be busy. They might, not be as responsive, and that's fine. They're not you. You can't think like everyone is you. And I think that the best coaches out there in any sport are the people that understand that everyone is
Empathy.
unique and there isn't one way to explain something, and you need to understand, that you may have to convey it differently for someone to get it. And that's all it is. So I'm glad you said that. And the second thing was, a while back, I think it was a Tiger Woods interview, or he was tripping at a golf course, or and he was like, what feedback would you have? And he's like, stay off YouTube or something like that, and kind of
Which
go
I
to
mean, you
what you
could
just said.
find answers on YouTube. It's highly accessible. Some of the stuff out there is awesome. I mean, what we're doing on YouTube is amazing. We're growing the game, and we're helping so many different people, so many different cultures. I mean, look at the culture of like Malbon, what they're bringing to the game. I mean, it's just a whole different side to golf now that we're seeing, and I love that. But there's just, you gotta find value customized to yourself, so you're not wasting your time, because your time is worth every. Dude, I can't tell you, with all the trauma that I've had in my whole life, all the injuries that I've had, time is the one thing that I always thought about I lost. But really, it's the lesson that I learned that's giving me the value. People don't understand that when you take a lesson, that lesson that you learned is replacing a mistake that you made. And that's deep. When you
Yeah,
take a lesson, the lesson is replacing mistakes that you could make. And
yeah,
it's so
yeah.
cool to think about value time.
And you learn from it and you move forward and you get better,
Yeah.
right? Like I I tried starting something at my company or my group, right? Like my team was like fail fast and fail forward.
Hmm.
Because when you work at a big company, there people make mistakes, right? But we don't always do a good enough job of
Oh
communicating
yeah.
those mistakes and what we learn from it. Because when you work at a big company, it's likely that a lot of people are going to make the same mistake. But if we could get better at sharing the mistakes or failures we made to help others learn, and
Yeah.
then we avoid making that mistake in the future. So
That's
I
why
like,
people they like watching bad shots. They like watching bad shots because they share the trauma. And that's why people are watching um, you know, like Bobo Sports and dude, it's just they're so funny, they're so relatable because people can understand, but you see really good golf shots, they're like, how did they hit that shot? They're curious, but they're not relating to them. So when they watch a golf shot, my shot has to be so damn good for them to actually like engage in it. But if it's just an average shot, they're like, oh, we know he can do that. We don't really understand why he does it, why we can't do it. And that's something when I was a kid, one of my first experiences is to kind of know that I was going to be a coach was I got so pissed off when people weren't as good as me. I wondered why. Why can I? What is special about me? Want to? What makes me hit a golf ball so good? And this guy over here is struggling. And there's nothing I can freaking do. And he doesn't want my help because I'm not going to say anything unless he asks me. And that's something that I fight with every day as a coach is like, I can't just be like, hey, unless I like bring up like a bucket of balls, but like, yeah, I got some free balls. Do you want my help, man? Because if you give something to someone, they might give you time back. But if I just go up there, don't do that.
yeah,
Don't do that. Don't do it.
yeah. And another thing that I'll say, um, based on my experience, not just with my golf coach, I've had like 6 lessons, 5 lessons so far, but just in coaches in general, I think there are some people who maybe are, and this might be not just in sports or in life, are afraid to ask questions, like because they're afraid to sound dumb or stupid. But in reality, like I'm a firm believer that there's really no such thing as a dumb question. You may think it is, but asking that question could give you the answer to everything you're looking for, right? And so if there are people out there who haven't got coaches that want to get coaches, don't be afraid to ask questions. I think asking
Yeah.
questions are super important, and there's no such thing as a dumb question. I know that's said
Yeah.
all the time, but I truly believe that. Like I'm a person that likes to question everything. 2 + 2 = 4. Why? You know, why does 2 + 2? Who's like what? How does that? Like what? Who said that? And we just are going with it. Like
And I
that's
think this will ring true. This will also ring true on that subject. I hate to interrupt. This will really ring true to people is like there are more dumb answers than dumb questions. So it's important that people also understand, and this is going kind of back to time, but time you can decrease the amount of time you have to learn if you ask more questions because it's the curiosity that makes you search. A curious thing is a question. A statement has ended. The word but has ended the conversation. So I try not to use the word but either. But time. The reason why, and this is the point I'm getting to, the reason why time exists is so that everything doesn't happen all at once.
yeah. It doesn't
Okay?
have to,
No,
too, right?
well it can't because you physically like explode. You can't think of all the things at the same time, and nothing can all happen at once. It's not possible. It's the only reason why it exists. But think about it: if you found the value of that specific hour of that time really valuable, and you did the research and you asked the right questions for the curiosity of why he's so valuable, then you would make less mistakes because you replace the value, the lesson, mistake.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
why it's so fun.
yeah. No, I think that was a great topic. I'm glad we were able to chat about that. I think it's super valuable for people to hear. But the next thing I want to chat about is social media, and we'll talk about a few things. But for you, you're almost at 100,000 followers. I know you said followers or whatever. It doesn't determine a great coach, but moving away from the coaching aspect. Um, what when did you get on social media? How did you start to figure it out to help you grow? What was that one post that maybe went viral or whatever, and got you a lot of traction, and people started following you? The reason I want to talk about this is I just think social media is it's a blessing and a curse, in my opinion, right? Like you
Oh,
spend all day browsing social
mm,
media and you're wasting your time, right? There's other things you could be doing. Um, but it also gives people a platform to communicate and share their thoughts and share their ideas and share information. Um, and I think it's been a great platform for people like you and coaches who have a service to provide. And now with virtual lessons, like you can now reach people all over the world through your platform who then can become clients who help you grow your business and help you live the life that you want to live. So
mm.
just want to chat about social media and talk about kind of how you developed your platform to be where you are today, because 100,000 followers is no joke. So
Well, thanks, man. It's
yeah.
for the people. It's not really me, but they that follow button. Oh, my crazy stuff. Um, well, so I've been a coach for a long time since I was 15. So it's like, oh my gosh, 22 years of coaching. And it kind of started on Facebook, and I joined some forums, and I became friends. So just networking, right, with PGA pros, so trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Did I really want to be a behind the desk pro? Did I want to be? I didn't know because obviously, like I said before, my career ended before it started. Um, so it was really truly finding what I wanted to do in the golf industry. So I could hit the ball really far. I could hit it really cool. All these shots that I could do. I don't know who that is or why they're banging on my door right now. Just a sec. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, you're good. Because I wasn't expecting anything. That's pretty funny. It's a courier. It's fetch. Anyway,
Okay.
um, it just the way he banged, I was like, "Whoa, that's aggressive." Um, but really, it was. I started in forums, okay, and the a lot of these coaches they don't have like a good exposure, and they don't have like when this all first started, they didn't have videos out there. They were just documenting things and getting data, and I was like, oh, just let me demonstrate some of these shots. Let me show you guys like what it looks like and shaping shots. um and one of my students asked me, he goes, do you know what it's like to start over? And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, to start from scratch. Do you know what it's like to start from like dead start, like beginner, and have no idea what to do? Not really. And I kind of forgotten because it's been so long. I've been playing golf for 36 years. So I didn't really know what it was like because I've always been in it. So I was like, oh, I'll just go lefty. So I did the math. I did the clubs. I got my clubs. First month was a struggle. My alignment was off. The clubs were, getting used to the swing. Second month, good contact, decent. For a third month, I played well. I was hitting the ball well, wasn't scoring well. I was like I was playing the holes well, but still wasn't scoring. And then finally, like I was able to adjust and make the formalities that I needed to make, getting the alignment, everything set. Finally broke par after 4 months on 9 holes. And then I was like, okay, why don't I do a shot lefty and righty? Two balls at once. No one had ever done that before. And I posted it. This is the funny thing. I posted it on my Facebook in the instructional forums, like all the forums. All these coaches were like, oh, that's amazing. How do you do that? How do you do this? All like, but I had linked it on accident because my Instagram was linked to it. I swear it had a picture of a deer. The first hole at Wolf Run in Indiana. There's a deer in the fairway. So I was like, cool, take a picture of that. That was the picture on there, and there was also a picture of a Prius with the bumper sticker that said "nice car," said nobody. So there was like nothing on there. So it was linked to it, and then my student from a previous internship called me. He goes, bro, he's kind of broy. Bro, you're on Golf Gods, dude. And I was like, what is Golf Gods? I felt like I was 80 years old. Like, what's a phone do? Like my dad texting with one finger. Um, I didn't know what it was, and he's like, you got 50,000 views in 6 hours or whatever it was, and I was like pretty big then. And then I just started like blowing up, but I didn't even do it on purpose. It was just linked to. I didn't even like. I was just showing the coaches like what it was like, and the mobility and the movement, and the functions. just getting them curious. And then a little bit further down the road, I started getting to know a lot more people. Chris Como was like, why don't you do a obnoxious example of me jumping off the diving board? Because that's how he kind of went coach viral, is he did the whole jumping off the diving board, showing how ground reaction force is important. Um, so I started jumping off chairs and hitting golf balls, and then I'm the only person that I know of to actually hang upside down and hit a golf ball upside down. And I did that to prove that ground reaction force still exists because my legs were attached to the jungle gym, if you want to call it a jungle gym. But that's kind of how it first started. It was me doing trick shot, but really, I started as a coach for way longer. I've been a coach for, at that point, at least 10, 11 years. So it was me being a nerd and me understanding scientific background in kinesiology, um, from sports science certification. So I really think it's kind of, when someone finds like a viral step, it's usually inadvertent. It's
Yeah.
usually like it's on accident. It's hard to go viral on purpose. Gary Vee talks about this too. You can't just go viral on purpose. Viral is the word, right? It's viral. Like, it doesn't really intend to go viral, but it does. But you can, like, look at Mr. Beast now, dude. Everybody goes viral because he does cool things that no one's ever done.
It's
So
adding value
that's how it
in
started, though.
entertainment. Adding value in
It's
entertainment, and it's funny you said that.
value, right?
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah, it goes back to value, and it's funny you said that you
Exactly.
didn't even mean to, and I think it goes to show that like if you're putting out content out there that's value that people find valuable, um, that and that's how you should approach content. And value is different. It can be educational, it can be entertainment, it can be stuff nobody's doing. But value is important, and I think the thing that you said is you don't want to do it on purpose. Like, you should not be building or creating content with the goal like I want this to go viral.
Where's the passion? Where's the
Yes,
passion?
you
Where's
need to
that
enjoy and love
feedback?
doing it.
Like the relativity. People are like, "Oh, this guy really loves this." Like, I love this more than anyone else, and I believe that. I do.
Yeah,
I
and
really do.
people feel that energy, right? Like I've gotten, I started my Instagram, I don't know, a little over 5 months ago. Have I think, uh, you know, almost 5,300 followers, and I would say that what like one of the things that I hear the most is like we love the energy, like your personality, and it's because I enjoy making the content. I enjoy creating, and people feel that, right? Like, you got to enjoy it. You got to have passion behind it. Like, and for me, like I honestly say, like, I love golf. I think golf's a great sport. Is it my passion? It could eventually become my passion, but I would say what the thing that I love the most, I love marketing, right? And a part of marketing is social media and content, understanding trends, and understanding what people connect with. And I'm passionate about marketing, right? Like, I love helping brands grow. I love building campaigns, whatever it is. And that's what I enjoy most about being a creator on Instagram, is that I'm able to use what I love, which is marketing, and apply it to something that I enjoy doing, which is golf.
You're a
Um,
squire. You're a squire of golf, man. Like you, it's just the E for entertainment and squire. So
well,
if it
funny
really
story.
helps.
I'm an attorney, right? So I don't practice law, but that's where the that's where the name came from. Um, I don't know if everyone knows that or not, but yeah, that's where it came from. Um, but yeah, the reason I think it's important, I think there's I still think there's room in the golf creator space for people to grow. But it's becoming, harder and harder because so many people are trying to do it now, right?
Yeah,
You
you
see
see, notice
everybody.
collabs. Collabs are the only really way to grow that much now.
Yeah,
Everyone's collabing. Everyone's, trying to come together. And you see
try
a
to
lot of
reach more
coaches are
people.
like, there are a lot more coaches are like becoming um, cooperative, and they're accepting that they might have been wrong, or accepting that they need to learn more and dropping their ego a bit. Because there's something about me is I don't have that, like, people think I'm a know-it-all ego or whatever. I was like, no, I love learning. And I'm wrong. I like being wrong because it teaches me a lesson. It gives me value. That's what a lesson is. And a lesson to me is a mistake. I just call it a lesson though. So I think it's again, this whole thing has just been about value.
Yeah.
It's really been about value. And I hate for it to be about me, but obviously you're interviewing me, but I think it's important that people understand that their value, you know, it's like you look at you're doing the same thing, man. You're growing something. You understand your value. You get marketing. You get the trends and stuff. I'm not as good at the trends as I am information and educating when it comes to this subject, but we all can learn something. We can learn a lesson from anybody, really. Like dude, we could learn something from a hobo. Something so valuable.
It's funny. It's funny you say that because I had a video yesterday. I think it was, oh gosh, what was it about? Um, like what Nike is going to do, right? Are they leaving golf? Are they not leaving golf? Are they just cutting sponsorship players? Like, what is their thing? And someone mentioned, added their input, and they said something along the lines of, I went to community college, so take it with a grain of salt. I'm like, it doesn't matter whether you went to Harvard or community college or no college. Like, your opinion has value. It doesn't matter. And this is what I told him, because I think people equate experience or education to intelligence, or understanding, right? But I have my JD MBA. I'm pretty educated. There's a lot of things I don't understand that someone who might have no education does, right? And but it's the value, right? Like,
Yeah.
I have a certain value, and I want to surround myself with people who have value that's different than me, so I can learn and improve and grow. I
Yeah,
think
it's
that
like
that's the beauty of individuality.
that. I mean,
So
again, that's why like some older people don't like younger people because they think they're a know-it-all. Because think about it, you learn something, it's fresh as soon as you know it, but you don't understand it yet. But all these old people have so much wisdom because knowledge and understanding is wisdom. So what I try and do, and I stick with one subject, I stick with golf, I stick with fascia, and I stick with, like the skeletal structure. And if I can understand those three things, then I can help someone. But
yeah.
if I just know stuff about it, who the hell cares? What? Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, yeah, I think social media is a crazy thing. Like I said, it's a blessing and a curse. And I think the people that do the best find their niche, add their value, and value is can be many different things, right? Can be just being relatable, can be education, can be tips, can be bringing awareness to certain things, whatever it is. Um, but the reason I want to chat about it is because a lot of people would love to one day grow a platform that, like you, right? And it's nice to hear perspective from someone that's done it, and then someone that's kind of in the lower end that's still trying to do it. um, Social media is a cool tool, and it opens the doors and connects you to a lot of people like us,
Oh, man,
right?
it's so
And
cool the people
which
I've
which
met.
kind of takes me to that next thing, is like really how we got connected was one of my videos on Vickery Creek. I took some footage from you when you played there, put it into that video. That video went viral for me.
Mhm.
I think got over 4 million views. Helped Vickery Creek gain like I think they're up 5,000 followers since I posted that, and that's what connected us. A lot of people were tagging you saying, "You ain't giving Colin any credit." I'm like, I tagged him. What do you mean? I tagged him. I did give him credit. I'm not just out here stealing
No,
videos.
they don't
And
see that little
I know.
little corner. They don't see it.
I know. Well, you used to be able to just like tap on. Maybe it's pictures, or maybe it's not on Reels, but when you just tap on it, you can see it. I think maybe still
Yeah,
pictures
not on
allows
Reels
you to do that.
anymore. It's like this big in the
I
corner.
know.
It's like,
So let's talk about Vickery Creek. We chatted about it a
mm.
little bit, but for people that don't know, Vickery Creek it's 18 holes. Is it 18 holes or 9?
It's 18 holes. Oh,
He's
he
building.
he was struggling with his swing. Hour and a half later, he makes his first hole in one. So I think it's really valid that there's a lot of cool things happening But that's all I'll really say. There's going to be some really cool stuff, and uh, you know, like I said, we don't really know what's going to happen because the builder, Jonathan, the builder. He's got a life. He's got a crazy, rigorous, high pressure job. He travels so much. He travels more than the average person. I think he was in 3 countries in one day.
Oh, wow.
So it's not just it's in Europe, man. He's going. So it's a lot. So he's like we all are dealing with a lot of things in our life. I'm dealing with some bodily issues going on. Doctors don't know what's going on. So we're all dealing with something. So we don't really truly know. We have a plan. We can stick to it, but we're just trying to find the value of the in the moment what's happening. Stuff will change.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
just
yeah. And just for awareness, the Vickery Creek that I was talking about, it's a pitch and putt, par three, 18 holes. I think the holes range from 12 to 72 yards. They're named after movies. And
I
it's
believe
funny,
it.
like the number one comment I got was, "You might as well, this is just a disc golf course." And I'm
No.
like, no, I mean it's a golf course. It's, a disc. I mean, yeah, maybe the
He
same
purposely sets up trees. He purposely sets up trees in the new one. Um, there's so much, dude. You have no idea what's coming. Like
well,
if he has the time, if this is the time, the value is everything. That's what we're talking about. I love time and I love value. Talking about that is so interesting. Einstein talks about it a lot too. Huge fan of Einstein. But just understanding that things in the future could be occurring to be really cool. Hopefully, this all works out into fruition. Some of it actually is. I can't really say because it's not true yet. It's not. So I'm not. I'm a person of factual information. Everything I say, there is no BS. It's all facts. It's not even my opinion. It's not a preference. It's all facts that are coming out of my mouth. I want to make sure that they're all true. They all have backing. But we don't really know. All I know is there are a couple courses, right? There'll be a couple locations, and just people be excited for this because this is some really cool stuff, and there are some really interesting people that want to get involved. So I
yeah.
think it's
So obviously we chatted about it, and he reached out to me too, first to invite me to play because of that video, which
yeah.
like that's kind of the opportunity, right? Like I had no intention of that going viral. I've never had
Hmm.
I never had a video get above 100,000. Like maybe a couple actually were above 50K before I posted that. But that's the power of social media, and that helped him get a lot more awareness to his course and what he's done, which that's kind of the purpose behind those videos, and I'm glad that that happened. But um, one of the things we talked about, or what I was going to say, is he also reached out. He must have looked at my LinkedIn and he saw that I was a JD MBA. He's also like an MBA and Masters of Engineering, so obviously he's really a very intelligent
Yes,
human
sir.
being,
That's
right?
why we
And
nerd out about things. Yeah, I gave him a lesson. I gave him a lesson to fix him in 10 minutes. He goes, why are you not charging more? I was like, what do you mean? It's like, dude, you just fixed me in 10 minutes. And he's a decent golfer, so it's not hard to fix a golfer. But he's so smart. He's the one, I'll say he's the number one most genuine person I have ever met that designs any golf course. Period. He just think about this. 5 years by yourself outside in the elements. He has had back issues, ribs, neck, vertebrae. He is busting his balls just to make this course for himself. This is beyond, like, dude, you being there at Vickery, just you feel like a child. You seriously feel like you're on a baseball field and it's like, let's say it's Wrigley Field or Fenway. And dude, it's a better feeling than that for me because I can't describe. I can't describe it. I get goosebumps talking about it. Like the first time ever being on that course, playing it for the very first time, technically breaking the record because it was too dark. This is bullshit. But I was 4 under going into 18. It was too dark. I had a hole in one while playing, and it was just, dude, it was the best experience I've ever had on a golf course because
And that's, and
because of
I got COVID.
how he is.
Yeah.
Forget the course, but how he is, his passion, what he put into it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so unbelievable, and the stuff he's doing, dude. This stuff, well, what stuff we're doing because I'm helping him and he's helping me. We've become really good friends. But man, if all comes into fruition, it's gonna be so good.
I'm looking
Just
forward to it. I'm gonna have a
yeah.
chat with him. He wanted to connect in the new year. I don't. He didn't
Mm.
specify what it was about, and I think he's gonna be at the PGA show, which I'm gonna be at too.
He
Um,
thinks he can make it. He's pretty
and
sure
so
he
I'm
can.
gonna
Yeah.
try to connect with him and as many people that I've built social media relationships with. But the one thing that you said about him was that he is the world's best par three designer. Is that what you
Dude,
call it? Designer in the world. So
with the land, the budget, he's the best I've ever seen. And you can see some of these par three courses. Give me a break. The stuff that he's doing, if he had that kind of land and that kind of budget, he there's no telling. It's like
like creating just the ultimate experience, right?
yeah, that what is it, Scottsdale National, that small short golf course. What is it called? They call it something. It's like the Deadly Nine, or I can't remember what it's called. Uh, but it's Scottsdale National's par three course, and it's pretty cool. But if he had the budget like that, he'd make it not only harder, more challenging, and piss more people off, but that's the point. It's supposed to be challenging. It's
The
a
bad
short
little nine.
course.
Is it the bad little nine?
Yes, it's the bad little nine. Dude, I'm telling you, the shots that I have, um, I only made one hole in one, and with at my skill level with short game, granted my body is a mess. It was really bad when we were out there. I was bad. It was not good. But I was still doing my best to hit the shots. I made one hole in one, just precedent. 2 days at Vickery, I had five. No, 3 days
Five.
at Vickery, I had five. I had five hole in ones,
Wow.
3 days. 2 days at the new one, one.
And the new one is still like under wraps. It's not official
Yeah,
yet.
it's still under wraps. We can't.
And how does
Yeah.
that work, right? So, obviously you need land, right? And probably you need a lot of money, right? To
You wouldn't think as much because Jonathan has money. He's take his own money and put it into this, and
to
then the owner is the one that's paying him back and giving him 50% of the gate. So people don't know this. So it's just
okay.
it's understanding a lot of this stuff. But
So
he's putting his own money.
is he redesigning a current par three course?
It's from scratch.
So someone that owns land, he's
hmm
having him design a par three course
hmm
for him.
Anywhere, anywhere. And there's a couple other places that he might be doing. So who knows?
And people reach
But
out to him for this. Is that how it works usually?
well, they should, because he's that good. I mean, he can see a piece of land like I could. I mean, I could do it, but not like him, man.
It's the engineering mind. It's got to be that engineering
I
mind.
have the same kind of mind, but he has it to the umpth degree of like, um, it's crazy. Like, there's just some shots I'm like, dude, there's no way you're holding this green. And he's like, you got to land it right there. I was like, okay, well, you got to land it right there. That's not the green. So it's pretty cool what he's doing, and there's a lot of stuff that, um, if like I said, if it comes into fruition like we hope it's going to, which you never know, nothing is guaranteed in life, except that you live. Nothing is really guaranteed. So all we can do is keep positive thoughts. Because the one thing that I tell all my students that is a guarantee, and it's on you. You can always have positive thoughts. That is a guarantee. You can guarantee that to yourself. You can have positive thoughts.
Yeah. I like to
And
say
that's the only thing.
control what you can control. I used to be someone that always would worry about the things out of my control. Just giving you an example.
It used to be
You're
me
at
a
an
lot, still
airport.
kind of is.
Oh, what was that?
It used to be me a lot, and right at the current moment, it kind of because of my health. So
It
it's
can get
like we,
frustrating for sure, right?
oh,
Like, because you want to be able to have control of yourself and your life. But just give you an example, like you could be at an airport and flight gets delayed or you miss a flight. Like you could be really upset, but it's not going to change the fact that your flight's delayed or that you missed your flight. Just deal with it, find out when the next flight is, and that's it. Like you can be stressed and angry and frustrated, or you can just be like, accept that that's the reality and
mhm.
move on, right? And that's in that, I think that actually that's kind of a good point when about golf in general is that like what I realized the first time I ever went to a PGA tournament was the Waste Management Open a while back, and I always thought, and this was well before I was into golf like I am now. I always thought these guys perfect, right? Driving the
No,
fairway,
no, no.
but I think I was like Fowler and Finau, or I forget who it was, but they both missed the fairway. They were off to the side where the spectators are. We were surrounding them, and their next shot, they're right back in a great position. And I think that's the thing about golf. Is like you could hit a bad shot and you could be angry. And you could be angry all the way up till you get to that ball, and now your next shot is affected. Or you could be like, okay, now I'm in that area. How do I what is the best approach here to get out of this and put myself in a good position and be positive? And you can still par, you can still get a birdie, you can bogey, whatever it is, or you completely take yourself out of the round or
Mhm.
out of that hole and be frustrated because of your tee shot. And it's just like baseball, right? It's like you could strike out. I'll never forget this. Joey Gomes, who's Johnny Gomes' brother, was one of my summer coaches when I was in college, and he was like, "You're gonna strike out, right? And you can be mad, or you can just be like,
Mhm.
take a to the pitcher and be like, you beat me, but I'm getting you next time,
Yeah,
right? And if you have the attitude of like pissed off and you're holding that the whole time, you're probably gonna have that result almost every time.
yeah.
But
It's like I tell this to my students. Okay, if if you're getting really pissed off, shot after shot, and the ball's not going where you want, and it's in a hazard, or you lose the ball, and you're really upset, and you just want to stop playing for the day, you don't like golf. You don't like it. The only reason why you're there is because you like a challenge. So once you start liking golf and appreciating it where it came from, and educating yourself, getting yourself to have some type of wisdom about the game, then you can start to really enjoy it and be better because you're the more knowledge you have about something, good or bad. We talked about that, trash or not trash. It's like if you stick your hand into a trash can, you don't know what's in there, but you're going to find out what's in there if you stick your hand in it. You don't know what's in the trash can because you have no idea. So when you pull your hand back out, you're like, "Oh, there's glass in there. Crap, that's probably not a good idea."
yeah,
But
Colin, that was
just
me.
the
But that was me though. I literally started golf, one because I missed the competitiveness of a sport, right? Like I wanted to have a hobby again that, got me out of I work from home, right? So I'm in my room at my desk every single day and I'm like I need to get out. I want to do something. I want to challenge myself. And it was so frustrating, right? Because it was like I didn't enjoy being out there and like the challenges, like when people were like, god, that's such a great course, it's so challenging, I love that whole, and it's like now I get it, right? You go play a course and it's like, wow, it's beautiful, like this is beautiful, it's just like well designed, like that hill on there, that bunker there, like you got to be, it's like it's so much more fun when it's like you take kind of a different approach and you do better, right? Like when you're not putting all this pressure on yourself and getting frustrated with yourself when you're
to
not
be
performing.
good,
The
right?
the, the best round I had was recently. I played 9 holes. Like I've never broke 90, but I played 9 holes at Oregon Golf Club maybe a month or so ago, and played 9, and I shot a 39, and it didn't have all great shots, but I didn't let the bad shots affect the next shot. And I just really enjoyed just being out there, right? It was like December. early December, or it was like November, and I'm like, man, I'm out here in
Yeah.
November at a beautiful country club, right? It's like, it doesn't get better than that,
No.
right? And just looking at golf differently now, I just enjoy it way more. At first, I was like, I just want to challenge myself. I want to beat my friends, and now it's like
Hmm.
I just want to go travel with my buddies and go see places and play golf and uh, just have a good time, you know.
Yeah, and
And
you can quote me on this, man, and anybody listen to me, quote me on this. I will never say golf is hard, ever. You've already lost, and I keep seeing it, and it's like Bruce Lee said, like you never say anything negative about yourself, even if it's a joke. Never. You just can't because your body, your brain doesn't hear the word can't. It doesn't. It doesn't hear the word like don't hit it in the water. It hears water. Don't think about an elephant. What are you thinking about?
I literally heard a sports psychologist. I don't know where it was. Like maybe my first year at Sacramento State, we had the Giants like sports psychologist come speak to us before I transferred, and I think he said something along those lines where it's like it was like I can't hit a line drive, you know, kind of what you just said. Like, don't hit it in the water. All you're thinking about is the water,
Yeah,
not don't, right? And then it
your brain
happens. It's
doesn't
like
hear
that
that word.
self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, um,
And not
it's
only it doesn't
crazy.
not hear it, it's a negative word. So it adds on top of it. That's why I try not to use the word but. So from now on, it's if you can add any value from this to yourself, try to very hardly, I know you're a lawyer and you had education, try not to use the word but. Try to use the word and, so you're including the rest of the sentence. You're including it. So I'll give you an example. Okay. So um, let's say I don't get picked for an interview or a job, which actually I didn't do it one time. I didn't get a job once. Um, and in that interview, let's just say after I said, um, I know you didn't pick me, but why? Or I could say, you didn't pick me and why?
Or
I included sounding positive. I would like to know, but stops the sentence. And I try to explain this to my students too, is like, but why'd I hit in the water? You've already became that that negative stop, halt. What did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. You might have missed something.
or you're saying like, I didn't get the interview, and can you let me know why? You know,
Exactly.
it doesn't sound, but why? Like there is sort of that negative connotation when you include the
It's
but in
negative
that type of
connotation.
sense. Just for another example, right? You said in your mind, don't hit it in the water. Uh, would you say something else like, let's try to hit it in front of the, or like
Just picture it in your mind. Just picture
visualization? It's the
Just
power of
picture
the
it. You
mind.
might not
People
be
underestimate.
you might not be able to physically. That's okay, but at least you pictured it in your mind. Half of it was good. Half of it. Half of it was okay. Maybe a quarter of it was okay. Maybe your body has limitations. So swing smaller, take a smaller club. Hit a layup shot, right? But all these people are trying to hit these heroic shots. They see their heroes do, right? They're influencers because heroes are just influencers. They see their influencers do. Tiger, huge influence. Also a hero to some people. But they're not built like him. They're not 6'2", they're not long bicep head, they're not tall, they're not flexible, they're really tall, short arms, bigger guys that need to move differently. Still can hit the ball just fine, but you got to learn how to move differently. They're
And
not
I
going to
think
have a
this is,
perfect plane, all that stuff. It's so interesting when, like you said, the mind's really powerful, but what powers the tool besides the mind?
yeah.
The
And,
muscle.
and, and I think that this is, you know, a great thing to end on. And I'll say that, you know, look, I don't know golf that well, right? Like I don't know mechanics, but what I do know is baseball. And what I tell people about baseball, or like when I see people comment like that's a bad swing, I'm like, but it works. It works for him. Right. And I say, like, you look at like Matthew Wolf or other people, and this is what I say in baseball is like, everyone's start is different. Everyone's stance is different. Their load might be different. How they time up pitchers might be different. But when they start their swing and they get to here, right, it's everyone is the same, right? everyone is the same. And that's kind of how I feel about the golf swing when people are like, when there are some people like, there's one way to do it. You need your hands here. You need to look like this. And it's like, not necessarily,
And that's
right?
ego talking.
Yeah.
That's ego.
It's like, there is like the right path in a way, right? Like a right swing path, but there's no right way to get there. Everyone's unique and everyone's body is different. And as long as they get there eventually, it doesn't matter about all the other stuff, right? Like you look at baseball players like Kevin Youkilis. You remember? Do you watch baseball? You remember how like does that happen? And he was a great hitter, or Gary Sheffield, right? Like no one does that. No one does that.
I was more
Well,
pitchers involved than anything. It was like, Martinez, dude, from the Red Sox. Oh my God. Like, ideal pitcher. And then you've got like Lincecum, whose arm goes all the way down to the ground.
yeah,
And then you've got like David Wells, his leg goes all the way up into the air. Like, there's so many people that have they have the same fascia lines. Okay. The fascia lines in every human being are exactly the same. No one's different in that factor. But the fascia length can be different in certain areas, so it causes a sling to happen at a certain time. You can load it differently. So the load times can be different. So that's why it's so interesting to understand this and have a coach or even a massage therapist or even people like that explain it to you so that you're like, oh, wow, I can do this. I can get my wrist angles to load, my fascia lines to load all the way up and be able to connect with the ball. I got yesterday, dude. I got a bigger guy, 6'5", has an inch over, which is too heavy, choked down on the club, hit it better. He's 39 inches. I kid you not, 39 inches from wrist to floor. That's so much distance. Most people can't even fathom that. That's up here on me, dude. I'm 32.9. Okay, that's so much closer. That's this much closer. So the idea of getting someone to do with a more muscly body to do certain things, I challenge any coach to do the same thing because that's what they should be doing. They should be doing it everybody, not just showing examples of Tiger, showing examples of. They should be doing it for every single person on this planet because I know they can. I know they're capable of it, but I challenge them to do it because that's what some coaches are really good at doing is they're challenging themselves to pick people that have limitations and do it with them. That's the fun part, man. It's helping everybody.
yeah, yeah. I think like the reason that I thought about this was you mentioned like everyone wants to swing like Tiger, but you're not Tiger. Tiger's special. I would say almost every single guy on tour, or at least the top 100, they're special. They're unique. Look at John Rahm's swing; it's unique.
This is a
And
club foot. He doesn't have a long takeaway. So the
and
right foot's clubbed. You can't have a long takeaway. He can do it, but he's not consistent with it.
yeah, and we're not them, right? It's like you can admire their swing, but
Sure. Absolutely admiring.
figure out
Absolutely.
what works with your swing, right? Like you don't gotta completely change everything to look like someone else. And I would say in golf, it's you because it happens so quickly, right? Like you don't really see all the unique differences that a lot of these people like. Oh, all look so smooth, but in like you really see it in baseball because the setups are different, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
the length of your feet, Hunter Pence, or there are some guys that are like, man, you just like that just looks pure, right? Like the Mike Trouts and the Ken Griffey Juniors, and it's
No,
like,
I was just going to say Ken Griffey. Long arms.
yeah, but like they're special, right? Like there's
There's
and
symmetric. The word I would use is symmetrical. So look at Nelly Korda. Nelly Korda is a really good example. She's taller, about 5'10", 5'11" shoes, maybe, depending on what she's wearing. If you look at a picture of her and Tiger, they're like this. Okay, but look at how long her arms are. Look how long Scotty Scheffler's arms are. Look how long JT's arms are. But he's not that tall. He's about 5'10", 5'11". Then you look at Will Torres, okay, 6'2". You'd never think he's 6'2", but if you look it up, he's 6'2". He looks like he's this tall, right? Because he's so thin. But he was taught to. So back problems. Like me, I was taught to do that too at a dress. Not smart. So the simplistic of pattern, the simplistic of geometry can be explained. And I'm going to do it at some point this year. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but hopefully collabing with other people, hopefully doing it in a giant room. I don't know. But some people know it, some people understand it, some people don't. I want to help them. I want to help them understand, like someone like me who has all this, this fucked up body, right? I am beyond screwed up. Surgery, compressed disc. I got all kinds of other stuff going on. I mean, limitation to internal rotation with my left arm. So it's, if I can hit a golf ball that well and curve it that well on purpose, almost anyone on this planet can do it the same way. I say almost because, well, people are very limited. Some people wheelchairs. So I get it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say everybody because that's not possible.
Yeah. Well, I will say I have seen people in wheelchairs.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like,
no, but
arms,
God,
no
what's his
arms.
name? God, the big Hawaiian dude out of Utah. He's on social media. Melosi.
Melosi. Oh yeah,
I'm pretty
Melosi.
sure
His
his
brother.
brother,
His
got
brother.
in an accident a while ago, and
Yep.
he is an incredible golfer still in his
Oh
wheelchair,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess that's the cool thing about
I
golf.
meant like
No, I get what you're saying.
you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, totally get it. Well, anyways, Colin, is there any closing thoughts you have, or anything that you want to tell the however many people, whatever, watch this, the people that do watch it to the end? Anything you want to say to end this?
Thanks for listening for this long.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say. No, really. Find value in what you do, whatever it is, because the lesson should not be a mistake. It should be something that you pay for that maybe you can make up for later.
Yeah, that's a great way to end it. And I just want to say, Colin, thank you for your time. I appreciate your interest in being on this. This is obviously my third episode, right? Really appreciate it. This has been a great episode, great conversation. And I look forward to getting it out there. But, more so I look forward to continuing to, grow our relationship. And hopefully we can meet sometime and, play Vickery Creek or another course Jonathan makes down the line. That would be awesome. But with that, have a good night.
You too, man.
Appreciate it. So,
and all you listeners, thank you for listening.
Yeah, I echo that. See you later, Colin. Have a good one.
You too.